A couple months ago, I was going through my anime lists on Crunchyroll. I found this interesting anime called Shadows. At the time, I didn't know what type of roller coaster I was about to put myself through. So sit back, relax, cry, and get mad with me, and let's go through the world and its characters of the Shadows house. Also, keep in mind, I will only be talking about the anime and anything mentioned in it. I was originally going to also talk about both manga and anime. I only have 2 volumes so far, and I have a hard time understanding when it comes to reading books, and it takes me quite a while to read them, so I may make a follow-up video just on the manga alone. Throughout the anime, we follow this trio of characters, one being Emilico, a fun-loving, cheerful girl. She's hardworking, and besides her faults and her overwhelming positivity, she would do anything for her master and her friends. Second one being Sean. He is a quiet yet independent, smart. He's just like Emilico in the way that he loves his master and his friends and would do anything to protect them, even though he is quite scared to do so. The last one is Rum. She's a timid and lonely girl with lack of communication skills. She's insecure and not sure how to communicate even when it comes to her master, but she is very kind when it comes to her friends. In the anime, there's technically 5 kids that you follow. 2 others I will be talking about now. I probably don't mention them later on, but I'll be mentioning them now because there are technically 5 kids. Lou being one of them. She is quiet yet obedient, always listens to her master to an unhealthy degree. She's always worried about damaging her face and invades people's space even though they're quite uncomfortable with it. She's a determined girl who will do anything, especially if her master is involved, but she is really bad at making decisions. The last kid being Ricky. He's arrogant and self-obsessed kid. He is really flustered and always tries to pick a fight when his master isn't around. Along with his master, they both want to increase their status within the family. However, he is also a kind and caring person when given the chance. Now that the main cast is explained, let's get into the story. The anime opens up with a crow flying through the sky, gray depressing sky, to this castle up on the hill, which immediately gives you its intention, like something has or is happening here. As we follow its crow, we go to this building, and this building in the anime is known as the children's building, or I'll be calling it the nursery because it is easier. This is also where we get to see the shadows for the first time and what it is or might be going on in the house, as we are taken through a montage through the house, then transitioning to a train going down to a town of people. Remember this later, it is important, but for now, I think something is wrong with those kids because for some reason they drank some suspicious substance that made them complain, but I don't know why yet. So far we have a castle up upon a hill, shadow people, children drinking some suspicious substance for maybe a ritual, and something I didn't say so far, but a saying that they said in the anime, I don't know for the manga, but when they drank the suspicious substance, they said this. Yeah, this gives me those sort of vibes of those poor kids probably got fucking brainwashed, but this also sets you the tone for the anime really well, in my opinion. We have a supernatural shadows that do these rituals for some reason and probably kidnap these kids to use as living dolls, servants. Also back at the castle, this is where we meet Emilico. She's given instructions in her room, but she can't read or write, so she's unaware of where she is and what her job should be. This is where she starts messing around with some stuff to get to where she needs to be, and this is where we meet Kate, Emilico's master, and our true first look at the inner workings of a shadow. Unlike others, Kate is a very kind and caring shadow and thinks of Emilico of her own person. Up to now, this point, I've kept kept everything pretty vague, but this is pretty important for the story, so let me explain. Usually when a young shadow gets a living doll for the first time, they will name it after themselves because that doll is supposed to be an extension of the shadow. So for an example, Sean, the character I mentioned earlier, is named after his master John. And then you have Patrick, who is the master of Rick, and Louise, the master of Liz. Something I didn't write down in my notes is within this first episode, you also get to see that these shadows also have powers as well. Each shadow has some sort of different power and it affects them differently. Katie is an example, I guess, in the anime of some sort of special kind of shadow. She doesn't exhibit one specific power. From my knowledge of superpowers, it seems like she has multiple. So that's something I didn't write down in my notes. I thought it was kind of interesting because from what I remember from the anime and from what I looked up on the wiki, by the way, thank you Shadow House Wiki, because all this came from the wiki, each shadow has to work from a specific job or they have to find their place in the house. Like if I were to have a specific power that dedicated myself to a specific job, even if I were still a child, you were to still cater to that specific job. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how quote unquote abusive it is, it's how the house works. And even the adults still do that sort of thing. The house is based off of like, you step on others to get to where you want to be, essentially. Now, throughout this episode, we learn that Kate is a part of the Shadows family, a prestigious one that has certain custom passed on throughout the generations. We also learn the reason why they need these kids is because of their living doll custom. When a shadow comes of age, they receive a living doll, but they have to follow every rule in the house. And the living dolls, and for the living dolls, it's survival of the fittest, and everyone is out for each other, child and adult alike. Like, for example, we will learn somewhere in season 1 that the living dolls still need sleep, food, and other necessities like a human would need, but to get those would be a luxury because they're given less than 5 hours of sleep to keep them sleep deprived, 1 piece of bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so they don't have much energy, and their rooms have no light. It's basically a coffin room, with a coffin for a bed to dehumanize them, which honestly is explained further when you learn later in the end of season 1, where you understand what the true motive behind the living doll's custom is. Because when you watch these 5 children try time and again as they try to understand what the debut is, when there are no instructions given, then they're thrust into deadly obstacle courses and aren't told that if they lose, their master dies and they get recycled, which means that any of the veiled dolls that you watch in the anime, they were once living dolls, so they essentially lose their memories and are made to think that they can't speak anymore, essentially. So that's what I mean by recycled, and that's what they're reduced to. Also, throughout the second half of the first season, you meet this character called Edward. I fucking hate him. He's an arrogant ass, thinks these kids are conspiring against the Shadows house before they even were thinking about it, and tries and fails multiple times to kill these kids. He was actually the one who sets up the debut test and enjoyed every minute of it, and also didn't the heads of the family. Like, what the actual fuck? Not to mention the grandfather gets off on everyone's suffering, starts laughing every once in a while when you see him in the anime, and enjoys it. It's so creepy. Like, I genuinely hate it. I love this anime a lot. I have my issues with it, one of it being the adults in it, but for the show it makes sense, and honestly it's done better in my opinion, way better than Promised Neverland. It did better with the mystery, intrigue, characters, setting, and interesting story, which is what pulled me in and got me theorizing and hooked for at least about a month or 2. The other issue I have with it is with one character called Rum, the one that I mentioned earlier. She was starting to, have some character development by the end of season 1, and I don't know if that's how different it is in the manga, but I was starting to really really enjoy her character, because throughout season 1 you see her in the background, you know, very shy, very quiet, people picking on her, and Emilko not understanding why, and starting to help her out with Sean. And they start getting along together when they're sort of forced to in the environment they're in, because like I said, whether you're a shadow or you're a living doll, it's survival of the fittest, and it's even more prevalent in when you see the full picture in the dolls. Dolls are treated horribly, even though they're technically human. Sorry, spoilers. And you really get to see how they're treated and they're dehumanized. But you get to see all 3 of them grow and care for each other. But then you get to the debut arc, and unfortunately, Rum does not make it with her master because she never knew how to talk to her master. And all of a sudden, she starts to care for her master a little bit more than she already did, and talk to her master, and her master actually starts learning how to speak because she never did. And when they make it to the finish line, it's late, and then you watch her master die. And then what's happened to Rum, well, you see it in a montage, a scary montage, but the kids have no clue. You, the audience, are the only ones who know. The kids never learn what's going on. And the anime, you'll never know, but I assume the manga, you'll know, because every time I look up Shadow House, I find little anime panels, so I'm assuming the anime you do know. Now, I originally wasn't going to make this video, but I got really hyper fixated on this topic so much that I started talking to family members about it, and I wanted to talk more about it, and then I started procrastinating on the video, and this is why it took me so long. And if you like me and you watch this show on Crunchyroll, I'm not sponsored by the way, I just like to yap, and I recommend stuff that I enjoy to others, and who knows, maybe you like it like I did. But if you like shows like this, or like little hobbies or whatever, and you just like to yap about it and you get hyper fixated, maybe you like this show and you might want to watch it. I don't know. Again, I'm not sponsored, but you might like this show. I just like mentioning shit and recommending shit. That's literally what my YouTube is. I recommend VTubers mostly, but I've been branching out. So if you like this show, if you want to watch it, highly recommend it. Hello, welcome to the post-credit scene. I didn't really get into a lot of the other stuff that I really liked about the show, like how you get to see Rum's master after she quote-unquote died, which I thought was really cute. Picture will be up. You also get to see what happens when they turn into grown-ups, which is really morbid. A lot of that other stuff, also picture will be up there. I might have to censor it because of YouTube, but like the show goes into really morbid states. It also tells you what happens when they turn into grown-ups. I won't spoil anymore. It's just really good. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I was hyper fixated on the show for a long time, to the point I needed to draw every character. Rum is one of my favorites. I also really like Emilko and Kate. I think Emilko is maybe my spirit animal because I was like her as a child. And then, hey, I have dark humor now, so I don't fucking know. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and if you like another video, I recommend you watch whatever's on the screen right now. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Bye! Hey you! If you like my videos and you want more, please like and subscribe, and maybe you one day, will become part of my plushie wall.